Okay, at this point in time, what I've done is I've broken this axle loose, 80 foot-pounds of torque there. I had to take a swing arm and use that for a lot of the mechanical advantage I need. I've taken my brake assembly, moved it to the side with these nice little brackets that I got for Christmas present, and they just hang the brake assembly aside so nothing gets scratched and banged up. My next job now is going to be to take and jack up the bike, taking some of the weight off, pull the axle, let the tire come out, and then I got to get my fender off, out of the way, so that my forks are free. And then at that point I can start taking apart all the upper part of the assembly here. Again, the effort here is to leave all the fairing on, the leg fairing, the windshield and headlight assembly should all stay. Everything should stay here, and that way and not scratching anything up either. So at this point I've taken off the front tire. Now I still have to work on getting that fender off, and I'll carry on from there. This is a lot easier if you take the gas tank off. So next, now I'm going to start looking at taking these caps off, this Garmin bracket mount here, and then I have to undo the little bracket down here, take and give myself lots of room for the hoses to drop off, and then I'm going to be looking at the Allen screws holding my forks on both sides, pull my forks out, and pull the little cap off in here, and then I'm going to pop this bracket off here, pull it out, and then I'll have access to the Triple Tree assembly inside there. So I've got the handlebars off, I took them off. Now I have to take those Allen screws out. And you can see you have to be really careful when you're going in here to try and work with these Allen screws. It's a tight area. Take your time and don't scratch up your fairing. And yeah, we'll carry on. Okay, so here we are on to the next steps. The forks have been removed, as you can see. I had to take these cables off here, off the bottom of the Triple Tree. So that's done. They're off to the side. What I did here is take this fork clamp and steering wheel or steering handlebars assembly off. You can see here there's the notch. This is why this bike locks up on the steering lock. And this sat right in on top of the post right here, over there, and it had a 36 mil nut that was torqued down to hold it in place, which is this guy right here. And in order to get it off, it's a little bit hard because you need a 36 millimeter tool, and I had it taken into a machine shop to turn this down because it will not go inside of this aluminum housing inside there with the socket at full thickness. I feel that shoulder is good enough for any torquing efforts on this device. So that's where we're at now. And then removing the keeper here. Should have used the one where I got the glove here because it's a little bit greasy. Take that keeper off, put it away here in my magnetic drawer. And then this is the torque nut assembly that actually what you're going to use to torque down the steering assembly so that the bearings set if you change out the taper bearings like I have done. This effort is just to do the service on that, make sure they're greased up, ready to go for this season's riding. So that takes a special nut, this guy, and it's something that I found very hard to come by. They would look like an axle nut type socket. As it is, this one here does actually grab a hold of a couple of the teeth if I'm careful on how I do it, and then I can torque that off and get it off. So I'm able to accomplish that with this one. So I've got my Triple Tree assembly out here, as you can see. So the seal that came from the top side here, the nut that was on there, this nut here, was screwed on tight with these threads, torqued down to a specification. So I loosened it all off with my axle socket, and as I'm taking it out, I have to hold the bottom of my Triple Tree, reaching around the fairing, just hold it, support the bottom of this assembly, take the nut off, remove the nut from the top, and then what I'll do is carefully come around to the front end and carefully moving it down from the point here. There's the house, or the main frame housing, and here's the tapered portion of the bottom bearing. And now I'm going to go in and do a good inspection on the top bearing, bottom bearing, clean up the lubrication, and then reassemble the whole of all of the pieces back to the way I go. So essentially, as you can see, all the fairing is still on the bike. I've stripped it down very carefully to make sure that, you know, I took my time. No damage is being done to any of the fairing. Trying to do everything. In this case, I have the gas tank off as well. I want to do a service on the spark plugs here as well, and do any cleanup that I have to do around in the top end here, making sure everything looking good here, and then I'll put it all back together again and then put my tank on. It makes it a lot easier, but I have done it with the tank in place. It just means that you want to make sure that it's all covered up so nothing comes down and hits said object. And by the way, this is my Garmin 390 LM390 mount there. That was a $300 touch from Cowie. Yeah, crazy money. Anyways, that'll be it for this session.